We're embarking on a journey at the edge of the Arctic Circle where something extraordinary is happening.
In the icy waters between Iceland and Greenland, there's a mystery. Strange creatures that don't belong are showing up here, leaving scientists scratching their heads and, frankly, a little worried.
Let's dive into this marine puzzle that has some surprisingly major implications for the rest of our planet today as we adventure on 9 Worlds.
Scientists have stumbled upon some peculiar happenings off the southeast coast of Greenland.
Whales like humpback and fin whale pods that are normally regular residents of distant waters are gathering regularly in surprising numbers. They don't belong here, and suddenly they're all over the coast. And when unexpected creatures show up in strange places, scientists get curious and also a little concerned.
We'll tell you why. But first, let's set the stage with a quick review of basics about the Arctic. Arctic basis montage.
Antarctica
South Pole
is a vast icy landmass, but the Arctic
North Pole
is a vast expanse of water covered in sea ice and surrounded by land.
It used to be a challenge to study this remote region due to drifting ice, which made travel in this area incredibly dangerous.
But with rising temperatures, exploration here has gotten a bit safer. More water, fewer huge chunks of ice to crush you and your boat.
That sounds bad.
Very bad.
And, alarmingly, as scientists increasingly study this area, they're finding that the Arctic is experiencing rapid and potentially permanent changes.
The Arctic Ocean historically has been capped by seasonal sea ice, which plays many important roles, but most crucially helps regulate the Earth's climate. All that ice reflects solar radiation, helping to keep our planet cool and comfy.
However, recent findings show that the Arctic is warming 4 times faster than the global average, and the extent of sea ice has been decreasing year by year.
And as sea ice decreases, the amount of dark water increases, and that means more solar energy is absorbed rather than reflected. This makes the area and the planet heat up even more. Not great. And here's where we need to talk about sea ice. As it turns out, there are many different kinds of ice in nature.
Who knew, right?
And sea ice is a special form of ice that only forms under very specific conditions in the ocean.
The Arctic is specifically structured like a natural sea ice machine. The water here has layers, like a cake, that help it actually make ice form.
Under normal conditions, cold water would fall to the bottom of the sea and get churned up and mixed around. But in the Arctic, those layers mean you find dense salt water at the bottom of the ocean, with fresh water at the top layered and separate. This is called a halocline, and this halocline is super important to the formation of sea ice. Sea ice won't form without this separation to keep the fresh water from sinking to the bottom.
But we know sea ice is disappearing, and this disrupts the delicate balance of the Arctic climate, creating ripple effects across the region and maybe even the planet. Bum bum bum!
Old maps from the 1930s show a substantial amount of sea ice along the coast of Greenland. This ice created the perfect environment for Arctic species like the narwhal, preventing the intrusion of more temperate species who would compete for resources.
However, recent changes mean that ice doesn't reach the southern tip of Greenland like it used to, and this has opened a door for new arrivals, effectively reshaping the ecological dynamics of this area.
With almost no ice cover, sunlight penetrates the surface more easily, triggering the growth of plankton, which then attracts a variety of marine life that like to feed on these plankton, which then attracts the creatures that like to feed on the smaller creatures that came to eat the plankton, and so on.
See? The food web. Plankton. Creature that likes to eat the plankton.
Bigger creature.
Bigger creature.
That's it. It's science, people. This means that thousands of fin whales, humpbacks, dolphins, and even killer whales are now making the southeast coast of Greenland their new home, in addition to new varieties of fish and crustaceans.
While this might seem like a really cool opportunity, the influx of temperate species comes at a cost, as Arctic natives face displacement.
But this story isn't just about local changes happening around Greenland. It's a signal of climate change and impacts happening thousands of kilometers away.
And to understand that part of the story, we need to travel about 5,000 kilometers away to the Beaufort Sea, to a nursery for ice. Aw, cute little baby ice.
So cute. Boop, boop. In the Arctic, 2 dominant circulation systems play crucial roles in redistributing ice and water: the transpolar drift stream and the Beaufort Gyre. The Beaufort Gyre is a big ice-making bowl in the sea, about 800 kilometers across, moving clockwise, turning water into ice. This water takes about 2 years to fully circle the perimeter of the gyre and then exit through the Fram Strait, where it gets pushed down south to the coast of Greenland, ideally as ice.
However, there's a problem. The gyre isn't making ice like it used to. Large parts of the area are now ice-free in the summer, so there's a lot less ice being pushed through the Fram Strait and down the coast of Greenland.
This means that sea ice is decreasing while the water in the area is warming, and this 1-2 climate punch is probably why we are seeing species that really don't belong here more often, while the species that do belong here are needing to move farther north.
These changes are only increasing, folks. With a warming Arctic and less sea ice, at some point, we will reach a summer without any sea ice at all. And this is the really scary part, folks. What happens then? Scientists don't really know.
Will that stratified halocline start mixing, forever changing the potential for this area to make new sea ice? Will the Arctic start to look more like the Atlantic? How will these changes continue to impact global weather? What about the jet stream? So many questions.
And none of them we have answers to right now.
I'm pointing. How much more can I point? Seriousness.
I get your other finger.
It's very serious, people.
Point A.
Okay. Can we move on now for the nice
Yes.
people? Okay.